Number 5. Lily Lindstrom was a 32-year-old prostitute living in the Atlas area of Stockholm, Sweden. She was found dead in her apartment on May 4th, 1932, after her friend Minnie Jansen, a 35-year-old prostitute who lived in the floor below her, alerted police that she had been missing. When the police broke down Lily's door after receiving no answer from her, they found her laying face down on her bed. Apparently, she had been dead for about 2 to 3 days. She was completely naked and her clothes were folded neatly in a chair next to the bed. Lily had been killed by blunt force trauma to the head, and furthermore, saliva was found on her neck and other areas of her body. But most disturbingly, almost all of the blood had been drained from her. A blood-stained gravy ladle was found near to her body, and it's believed that the instrument was used by the killer to drink Lily's blood. Due to this, the unknown killer was named the Atlas Vampire. Up to 9 suspects were questioned about the murder, but most of them were her clients, and they were all ruled out as perpetrators. After that, the case went completely cold and not a single suspect or any other trace of the Atlas Vampire ever turned up. Number 4. Author and war hero Ambrose Bierce is probably more famous for his disappearance than his writing. In 1913, Bierce wrote to friends that he was traveling to Mexico with, quote, pretty definite purpose which is not at the present disclosable, then vanished off of the face of the earth. The most logical explanation is that he ran into a group of soldiers during the Mexican Revolution. However, prior to this trip, Bierce had been researching strange and bizarre disappearances. One such case was that of Charles Ashmore. The story goes that in 1878, Ashmore left the family farmhouse near Quincy, Illinois, to go fetch fresh water from a spring a short distance away. When he never returned, his family went in to search for him. A new snow had just fallen, and Charles's footprints were plainly visible as they went out the back door and started across the yard. His father followed his trail for a short distance, going about 75 yards, when he saw that the trail abruptly ended. Beyond that last footprint was nothing other than smooth, unbroken snow. The boy's tracks simply came to an end, vanishing without a trace. Bierce theorized that people could fall into dimensional holes and be trapped forever, suspended between life and death. So some believe that this may be what happened to Bierce, and believe that he may have prophesied his own fate. Nobody knows for sure, but to this day, his disappearance remains a puzzling mystery. Number 3. In 1957, 2 sisters, Joanna, age 11, and Jacqueline Pollock, age 6, along with their friend Anthony, were tragically killed in a car accident as they walked to their local church in Northumberland, England. Their parents were grief-stricken, and John and Florence hoped and prayed that their daughters would come back, and it seemed as though their prayers were answered when 1 year later, twin girls Jennifer and Jillian were born. The Pollocks were surprised to find that Jennifer, the younger twin, had birthmarks on her body and face in the exact same way that Jacqueline had. With that began a series of uncanny similarities between the twins and their dead sisters. At the age of 2, the twins started to ask for toys that had once been owned by Jacqueline and Joanna. The girls, their parents claimed, had never seen or heard of such toys before. At age 4, they began to recognize places they had never been before, and one time they pointed to a school they claimed to be their school, and that they remembered playing in the playground behind it. The school was the one that Jacqueline and Joanna had attended. A well-respected psychologist at the time, Dr. Ian Stevenson, studied the case and concluded that the twins were indeed their sisters reincarnated. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, when the girls turned 5 years old, their memories vanished, and they both went on to live happy, ordinary lives. Number 2. The case of the Gruber family murders in 1922 remains one of the strangest unsolved mysteries ever. It all took place approximately 60 miles north of Munich, Germany, on Hinterkaifeck Ranch, the Gruber family's farm. Before the family of 5, as well as their housemaid, were brutally murdered, patriarch Andreas Gruber reportedly told neighbors about footprints spotted in the snow, coming from the nearby woods to the farmhouse's back door. But the footprints allegedly never went back into the woods. He also spoke of odd creaks and curious footfalls in the attic. He even noted that a newspaper that the family had never seen before showed up in the kitchen, and someone apparently tried to bust open the lock on the family's tool shed. Even with all of the oddities, the region was shocked when the family and their housemaid were brutally murdered at their home on the night of Friday, March 31st. According to reports, police determined that Andreas, his wife Kazelia, and daughter Victoria, as well as their granddaughter Kazelia, were killed in the farm's livestock barn. After that, they believed that their grandson Joseph was murdered while he slept. They believed that the killer went to the bedroom of the housemaid named Maria and killed her as well. All were bludgeoned in the head, and the autopsy reports that researchers have unearthed suggest that the elder Kazelia and her daughter Victoria showed signs of strangulation as well. Disturbingly, investigators know that the younger Kazelia was the last to die and may have survived the initial attack. She was found with clumps of her own hair in her clenched fingers. As if this weren't enough, the killer reportedly did not immediately leave. Police initially suspected that the motive for the brutal murders might have been robbery, but that was dismissed as money was found still in the house. In addition, instead of ransacking the farm or killing the animals, neighbors told police that they saw smoke coming from the chimney in the house afterwards, and they could tell that someone had been feeding the Grubers cattle. The murder weapon was determined to have been a mattock, which is a tool similar to a pickaxe. According to a farmhand who helped out during the harvest, Gruber had crafted the mattock himself, and it was stored in the tool shed. In addition, rumors abounded about the youngest victim, 2-year-old Joseph. The boy is believed to have been the result of an incestuous relationship between Andreas and his daughter Victoria, but no proof of this was ever found. Over the years, police reportedly interrogated at least 100 potential suspects. The most recent interrogation was reportedly in 1986. Then, in 2007, students from a local police academy were asked to apply modern investigative methods to the case to see what they could possibly add. They determined that considering the time that had passed and some evidence that had either gone missing or had never been gathered to begin with, the case was probably never going to be solved. Number 1. Leroy Carter Jr. was sleeping in the bushes of the Golden Gate Bridge when he was attacked and decapitated. His body was found on February 8, 1981, and he had only been dead for about 24 hours. The other clue left behind was a headless chicken, part of which was stuffed into Leroy's body. Though Leroy's head was missing, the San Francisco police brought in an officer who specialized in the occult. According to her, the murder was likely part of a dark ritual involving a black magic offshoot of the Afro-Caribbean religion Santeria. The ritual made a brew from the victim's brains and perhaps the ears and nose. She predicted that the head would be returned after 42 days once the ritual was complete. And sure enough, right on schedule, 42 days after the murder, the head was returned. However, despite having been called in, the detective was not taken seriously, and no one was arrested for the murder. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.